Hi guys, Everyday Knife Guy here with a pretty interesting knife review for you today. This is a bit of an unusual knife. This is the Spyderco Bob Terzuola Starmate. And this is a knife I picked up in a trade. It was never a model that I really particularly had my eye on as one that I had to get a hold of or try out, but it just so happened that it kind of worked out. And on Instagram, a buddy of mine had this up for trade, and I had a ZT that I was looking to move, so it kind of worked out. And I'm pretty glad I picked this up. It's a pretty interesting blade. Bob Terzuola is an American knife designer who was part of the kind of initial movement towards tactical blades and is, kind of credited with coining that term or that type of knife. And the Starmate is a pretty cool looking knife, I think, and it's one of the more unusual kind of Spyderco designs. It's not got a typical look to it. It's up there with some of the more kind of alternative looking Spydercos, and I kind of like that. These are knives that I would originally have thought were pretty ugly, and they're certainly got a very unique look to them. But I do think this is kind of cool looking, and it's a lot of fun to play with. It's a pretty interesting blade. Excuse my voice a little bit hoarse. I do have a cold here, but I'm just going to try and soldier through and make a few videos for you guys. So this is the latest incarnation of Starmate. It's been made for, I think, a number of different generations. Spyderco have teamed up with Bob Terzuola to make this knife. And this is the latest version. They've changed it a little bit over the years. And I believe from reading their own literature that it hasn't been made for a few years. But this latest one is VG10 steel. It's made in Japan, as you can see there. Apologies for the fingerprints. Let me wipe this off for you. And it's a beautiful saber ground blade. You can see Terzuola's signature or logo, if you will, on there. And it's a very cool logo. You see the dragon there with the curled kind of mane on it. Very, very nice. Beautiful grind on this blade, lovely satin, and just a beautiful blade shape. The handle is nothing really spectacular. It's just a pretty regular textured G10. There's no beveling. It's very thin G10 layers on top of stainless steel liners. You can see that there. So nothing too remarkable in the handle. The ergonomics of the handle are nothing special. You see there's a slight dip for your forefingers and a slight dip for your, I guess, your pinky and ring finger at the back. It is a full four-finger grip. It's quite a large knife. Let's just set the specs here. Blade length 3.75 inches, overall 8.7. So it's a fairly large knife, and yeah, the ergonomics are nothing spectacular, but it does fit the hand quite well, and the G10 is nice and grippy. Let's see if we can get a texture of that in focus. There you go. But yeah, I mean, there's no beveling. It is straight up and down, but it does fill the hand quite nicely. There's a nice thumb ramp on the back of the Spidey hole there with a little bit of jimping, so your thumb sits quite nicely, and it's quite a comfortable hold, albeit not super locked in. And yeah, the stainless steel liners there you can see are, in this model, according to Spyderco's literature, fully skeletonized. You can see there's large holes at the back here. There's even holes right up the liner lock bar there. You can see the liner lock tab here. And even above that, on the back piece here, you can see the whole thing is skeletonized. So the overall knife feels pretty lightweight. Let me just check the specs on that. It is 4.9 ounces, which for the size of it isn't too bad at all. It's a fairly weighty blade. It does feel a little bit nose heavy, but certainly not too heavy for the size of it overall. Lockup is super secure on this one. I did buy this used. When I got it used, it was, to be honest, a little bit loose on the detent. I actually took the whole thing apart and increased the tension on the locking leaf, and that actually helped quite a lot with the deployment. So you can see now it's still very smooth to close, but if I Spidey flick it, oops, misfire. Yeah, it's got a really nice smooth action on it. It's although the Spidey hole's kind of the regular size, not the oversized you see on some of their knives, it is nice to get a hold of and just bring it up into place. Lovely lock in there, and they have what they call a Walker locking mechanism on the liner lock, which basically means, if I can get a shot of it here, that you can see there the lock face on the tang of the blade is actually concave. so you don't have the usual diagonal grind on the back of the blade there. It's actually concave, so it makes for a very solid lock. And once it snaps into place, you can actually feel it is super solid. There's very little room for play there, and yeah, locks up really nice. So pretty impressed with it from that point of view. Performance is pretty good. It's a nice slicing blade. As you can see, there's saber ground with the nice satin on it. You can see came to me fairly sharp. I did sharpen up a little bit. Quite a thick stock on the blade, but a reasonably nice slicing edge. Let's give you a little look along the base here. You can see at the back we have 1, 2, 3 standoffs and stop pin up here, and also a tube for the lanyard hole here. They have this triangular mount for the pocket clip, and it is 4 position, so tip up, tip down, left or right hand carry. I have it tip up, right hand carry at the moment. The pocket clip stock I think comes polished or polished satin. This was actually stone washed by the time it came to me, and you can see the stone washing here on the lower parts. I just Scotch-Brighted this kind of high part here to make it a little bit higher gloss. I think it looks pretty cool, the contrast between the black G10 stone washing and that kind of polished satin look there. See the Spyderco logo on there. And yeah, not a huge lot else to say about it. I mean, it's a cool knife. It's nice to play with. It's fun to use. It's sharp. It's functional. As you can see, if you flick it there, nice deployment, nice and smooth, very solid lockup, and yeah, it's a cool knife. It's not something that really, you know, sets my world on fire or completely changes how I think about knives. It's, I don't want to call it standard, but I mean, it's a cool knife, but it's not something I'm probably going to keep forever. There are other things I'd rather try, but yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid functional blade. Let me just check if I can. MSRP on this, yeah, I mean, according to Spyderco's website, MSRP on this is $310. I think you can get it for a lot less than that from dealers, more around 200, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think that's anywhere near what its market price is. Trade value on this, I think, was around 200 when I picked it up. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other options in that price point, of course. There's no like really standout details in this knife that really make it that desirable, I don't think. The pivot's pretty bland, just a simple smooth head on that side. There is a D-shaped chamfering on the pivot to make it a little easier to put together, and just a simple Torx bit on that side. VG10 steel is pretty standard again. G10, very simple, non-beveled, non-contoured handles. Everything's pretty standard for Spyderco, but yeah, it does have a certain cool factor to it, and yeah, I like it. I definitely enjoy playing with it. It's nice to carry. It's not too obtrusive in the pocket, and it is very smooth on washers, of course. Shake it closed there. And yeah, the profile of it I think is pretty cool. It's one of the, as I said, one of the more alternative looking knives. But if you're into that sort of thing, then yeah, definitely check it out. So I think that's all there is to say, guys. Yeah, it's something that won't stay in my collection forever, probably, but something I was definitely glad to get the chance to hold and use and play with. And that's about it. That is the Spyderco Bob Terzuola Starmate, latest reincarnation. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll have more sack and knife videos coming for you soon. Cheers.